Staying active can be challenging when you're starting to get a little bit of age on you. And even if you're not, sometimes you just get aches and pains. Now, one thing that can really help keep all of us really active and healthy in preventing some of the injuries that come up when we're doing our favorite activities is by using a compression brace. On this episode, we are going to be talking with Nina Bard from BRD Sport about the differences between a compression brace and just a piece of neoprene that you put on that you got at a big box store. We're going to really learn more about what compression is, how it helps alleviate that pain, and what we can do to use some of these braces so that we can stay active and that we can definitely stay in the game. So stay tuned as we talk to Nina Bard. Hello and welcome to the Cool Grandpa Podcast. This is your host, Greg Payne, coming at you from Studio 12. This podcast is about being the best possible grandpa you can be, focusing on what it is to be a grandpa and how we can all share that experience together for our grandchildren. I wanted to take a minute before we got into the conversation to talk to you about this upcoming course that I have on it being an intentional grandfather. This course is being offered by Grandparents Academy. I've got a 4-part video course that's all primed, ready to go, and there are lots of other courses that you might find interesting as well. So please go to the show notes as well as the affiliate tab on my website. Check out Grandparents Academy and find the course that's going to work for you. Hopefully you sign up for the Intentional Grandfathering course. I'd love to have you participate in that one. The other thing I want to just make you aware of is that my children's book, My Grandpa's Grandpa, has just won another award. This one is with Story Monster, and Story Monster is an organization and publication that goes out to just about all the elementary schools, all the libraries, talking about authors, talking about children's books, young adult books. So this is a pretty big deal, and I'm super excited that I've been awarded recognition from this organization. If you haven't ordered a copy of My Grandpa's Grandpa, please go to my website, cool-grandpa.us, go to the bookstore, and place an order, and we'll get that out into the mail for you. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this conversation. Hi, Nina. Welcome to the Cool Grandpa Podcast. I'm excited to have you on here to talk about being a grandmother as well as BRD Sport. As we get started, I've been asking grandfathers and have been asking grandmothers this question, which is, can you take us back to your reaction to hearing the news that you were going to become a grandma for the first time? And what was that like for you?
It was shocking. It was absolutely shocking. And you really can't it's like it's the natural order of things, but you can't quite wrap your brain around it. That your child, the first one was my daughter having a child. But what made it even more, and I don't know, a lot of her friends were the same way. She insisted that I be in the delivery room for every one of her children. I did not want to be there. In fact, with the first one, I was behind a sheet going like this. And the doctor yelled, "Grandma, get out here." So I was there from the very, very beginning to see that child actually being born. And I know quite a few people that their daughters wanted that, which I found shocking because in my generation, we didn't have our mothers in there with us. We had our husband. We didn't have our husbands. She had her husband. She had me and the doctor.
That is something. I with my kids, I came into the situation where my wife had just divorced and had 2 young sons. So I wasn't part of any of that stuff going through it with her. So I like hearing these different stories and the reactions that folks have around the birth and the news of becoming a grandparent or a parent.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I call it the best club to get into. Once you join that club, your life has changed.
For sure. Well, And I think you start to be able to plan and think about the future even more. And then with grandparents, being able to plan all the little activities and trips and things that you're going to do. And I don't know about you, but I know my wife, Karen, when we finally got the granddaughters, it was like, oh, I'm going to dress them up. Here's all the cute little onesies and everything. Like the boys were kind of, our grandson was kind of like that. It was like, oh, here's a fun little pajamas or something that have baseballs and footballs on it. But as soon as the granddaughters showed up, it was hats and bows and little shoes and little things. And it's like, they're only going to wear that for like 2 or 3 times before they outgrow it. Or
yeah, exactly. My son just had his third. 2 boys, aged 4 and 2, and a little girl now, 4 months. The ribbons, the headbands, the whole thing. It's great. And it's just like having your own children. There's different stages. So I'm lucky I have them from 4 months to 16. So at this point, I've been through a lot of stages, and everyone is great. I mean, it's just different. When I took the first one, who's now 16, and I took her driving with a permit, I can't even put it into words, because I was there in the delivery room when she was born, and now I'm sitting next to her in a car and she's driving, looking at colleges. So,
well, and with the 16-year-old, is she getting into prom season? Is she looking at dresses? Is she doing all that?
No, I haven't seen that, but I mean, she's certainly about at the age of 14, transitioned into caring really how she looked, and her hair and her light makeup, and beginning to transition to really being a teenager. I mean, maybe some kids start younger. She was close to 14. I'm very lucky. I have been taking my daughter's children for 5 weeks in the summer myself to the Poconos in Pennsylvania. And it's a community. We rent a house. They go to a little day camp there. They go swimming, kayaking, fishing. It's a great bonding, anywhere from 3 to 5 weeks, just the grandparents with the kids. And so we're lucky to have that relationship with them. But even so, I remember the first summer that my granddaughter said, I hate to say this, but I'm really bored here. I need to go home. And that was around 14. She needed her friends. She needed her girlfriends with her. They go through different,
As parents and then grandparents, I think if we're doing our jobs right, they're going to want to be able to go out with their friends and their network, and they're going to want their own lives. I didn't joke so much, but as my kids were getting out of high school and starting to leave, it was devastating to my wife. I missed having the kids around, so don't get me wrong with that. But at the same time, I took the view of like, oh, my kids know how to take an extended drive for themselves. They know how to change a tire. They know how to, do these things.
Yeah. I think the counterpoint to that is, and I see this with my son and with my daughter, with their children. When the kids go through the terrible twos, we had it, now they have it. You get a little pleasure in seeing them have to go through what you went through. But the truth is, it's wonderful when they have the terrible twos. They are beginning to experience and what they're thinking about things. They like it, they don't like it. It's a necessary part of development. And so you teach them, but you have to be happy that that's going on. Just like you're happy that they can leave.
Yep.
It's a necessary part of development.
It is something too, as a grandparent, to watch your children have to go through that phase with their children, right? All of a sudden the cute little the adorable little granddaughter that did everything and was and so easy, all of a sudden is stomping her feet and shaking her fists and telling you no.
Yeah, we don't have to discipline them.
Right.
That's not our job. Our job, just love them.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a special place to be a grandparent.
Well, that's great. It sounds like you have a really great relationship with the grandkids, and
we're lucky.
I love being able to, that idea of taking them up into the Poconos for that 3 to 5 weeks. Cause
they're waiting. They're counting the days. They love it. It's a sense of freedom, independence, not so many rules. And we confiscate the phones, hand them over. That's a real problem. And I don't think you have that yet, but you will. They get the phones very young and they get it for security, but takes away. And I take it away. They know.
Well, and that's an important skill. It's not just being mean about it, but it's being able to say, hey, when we're at dinner, you have to be able to carry a conversation. You need to be able to interact. You need eye contact. All these different things
Exactly.
that, as they're starting to progress in life, these are still important skills that you have.
They are. And they have I think as they get older, because what I see is the social part is much harder because of the phones, because of the Facebook. There's a whole other social structure out there they have to deal with, and it's scary. It's scary. It's not so easy for us to understand that. And the second thing is we're not as good at it as they are, and that's something that a parent has to teach them.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And it's one of those things, too, that also challenges us to stay on top of what they're doing and how we can use that to stay connected with them. Because so many kids now, preferred communication method is texting versus even a phone call or something like that. And so as grandparents, if we want to, hey, how's your day? We're probably better off texting that versus giving them a call because they'll probably ignore the call.
I make them completely crazy. I don't just call. I want FaceTime. Look at me. I want to see you.
That's good.
But yeah, it's a special place.
Well, I want to transition a little bit over into talking about BRD Sport. I wanted to get a little bit of background about how you first got into the sewing machine industry, because it seems to me like ever since I was a little kid, I was hearing about all the offshoring, all the garment manufacturing. Everything was heading to China or Indonesia, or it was heading somewhere else. And so I'm kind of fascinated about how you got into the business.
Well, my husband started his career as he fixed industrial sewing machines. That's what he did. And he evolved into selling them. It became much more lucrative when he could sell them. And it took time to build up to that. And he sort of had an area of New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and life was good, as they say. He had a good business going, and he had a lot of clients, and he liked what he was doing. And I was an at-home mom, which today is kind of rare, and I get it. And that's a whole other conversation about moms working and why and that whole thing. But in my generation, I had plenty of friends at home, and so he worked, and I was raising the kids, and then he evolved. The sewing machine business got quite big, and then NAFTA happened. And the day NAFTA happened, he came home and he said to me, "We're out of business." I said, "Oh, you're crazy." He goes, "No, it's all going to go." And it did. I don't know how to verbalize this, but he was working on something for a couple of years, and I really didn't know what it was. And finally, I said, "You've got to tell me what you're doing." And he was making a compression knee brace. The word compression is very important. And he was flying to Europe all the time, looking at yarns, looking at machinery, looking at how they made it. And he came home and he said, "I'm trying to get a hold of this company in California and make this product for them." And I said, "Well, let me make the call. You're not good at that." Over time, we got the account. And we bought our first machine. Machine's the size of it's a good 9 feet long. Very big, has maybe 12 to 14 yarns working, lycra yarns, cut, whatever. And that was the beginning of our business. But we private labeled for global companies. Okay, we were making excellent compression products, knee, ankle, elbow, for companies that sold globally. So we were private labeling. I don't know if you ever heard of the company Aircast, but they were a company that made a boot and had a pump in it for people with ankle.
Yeah.
Okay, and we knew that they were losing their patent. The time was up. And so we took one of our compression knit ankles, put the pump in it. My husband put the pump in it. And I actually went to a board meeting to show it to them. And I said, you could use this. It's better than what you had because the whole foot's getting compression. The pump is going to work. And I remember them saying, "This is brilliant. This is fantastic. This is great. Too bad it'll never see the light of day." Why not? And I was told that they can buy I won't use the word they use, from China, and sell it and make millions and millions of dollars. Purchasing agents at all the drugstores, at all the big places, just want to make money, and they buy and they're never going to spend more money to buy a better quality product. And it wasn't such a huge difference. They still would have made millions. And I left there and I came home and I said to my husband, that's it, we're going direct to the consumer. I said, Americans have the right to quality products. They're walking into drugstores and they're buying garbage that doesn't work. They're spending $19, $20. Sorry, my knee brace cost $70, but guess what? It works. It alleviates your pain. It gets rid of the swelling. It keeps you active. It lets you continue. It works. These are good products because there's not so much labor in it. We could compete with China. It doesn't take a lot of people to run this machinery and make the product, so we could compete. To this day, China cannot make what we make. The quality, the yarns, the stuff that we use. And so besides our private labeling, we opened BRD, which we were grassroots selling to people. And big American flag, hey, it's made here, stuff works. We used to go to the New York Marathon and have a booth. And, it's really interesting because in Europe, this is what they use. In South America, this is what they use. Only here, Americans couldn't get the quality. And so I'd have a line, and it'd be mostly Europeans because they knew what they were getting, and it was actually less money than they would have paid in Europe. And Americans were going, what is this? And then they put it on, and we make an Achilles, a plantar fasciitis, an elbow, all these products. We went on Amazon, and slowly, grassroots, we have been growing because if someone buys from us once, they're back. They're going to buy again. They're going to tell people because you found something that actually worked. So that's how this part of our business. And as far as pickleball goes, we had started this. My friends knew about it. And I had a friend come back from a vacation in Colorado, calling me up and saying, hey, Nina, I twisted my ankle. I need one of your ankle braces. And I said, okay, come over. And I said, how did you twist it? She goes, oh, playing pickleball. And I said, what's that? I didn't know what it was. She told me, all right, it's a fluky thing. A week later, another friend comes back from Florida. Nina, I twisted my ankle. I need a neoprene ankle brace. I said, how'd you do it? I was playing pickleball. Well, then I Googled pickleball. And I realized that, number one, it's mostly older people at that time. Now everyone's playing. But then it was mostly seniors. Second of all, it's a shorter court, a lot of lateral movements. Not that I'm wishing this on anyone, but there's a lot more injuries because of the way they have to run for the ball. And that was my entry into pickleball. Started to connect with some of the pros, and they were wearing our products. And that's kind of how we evolved into that.
I want to step back a little bit and ask you a couple of questions. One is, what does BRD stand for? Anything in particular, or?
Yeah, my last name is Bard, B-A-R-D.
Okay.
It's a huge pharmaceutical company, so we could not use that name. So we took the A out, and it's BRD.
Oh, okay. The other thing, too, I wanted to step back into was to talk a little bit about compression versus even some of the neoprene braces and some of those things, because as a guy that's played softball, that's done some things, I've got the neoprene sleeve that I've put on the knee occasionally or on the ankle. It kind of relieved the pain a little bit, but not necessarily during any kind of an activity. It just, before or afterwards, it might have helped because it probably heated up the joint a little bit. But no, it didn't really help. So I'd love for you to be able to tell us about compression and about the product.
Here's the biggest, the hardest job for us was to educate people. Exactly what you asked. I mean, they're looking online. They see a knee brace for $70. There's all kinds of stuff written about it, but they don't really, it sounds good. And they're used to buying products like yours. Now, I will give you a story first, and then I'll explain. I have a close friend. Her husband was a physician, and she had nurses working there. And she looked one day and she saw a knee brace on her nurse, and she said, "Oh, is that a BRD brace?" And she said, "Yeah." She goes, "I really don't like it. I'm sweating, not doing so much." My girlfriend calls and tells me, I said, "It's not BRD. You need to check with her." Turned out to be a neoprene thing, exactly like what you're talking about, because neoprene, you're going to sweat. It's going to smell. It's rubber. So I sent her a knee brace. I said, "You give her this." And you have to be measured, and it's in 6 sizes. We make a knee brace in 6 sizes, and we make 6 sizes in a plus. So, of course, she loved the BRD. That's the story. Whether it's neoprene, whatever it is, it's a cut and sew. A cut and sew product is kind of like sausage. All right? 2 strips, sew it up, pull it up, and it's squeezing you. It's not compression. It's not compression. It's just squeezing you. Compression causes, okay, as an example, each one of our braces is made with 12 yarns that have different knitting structures throughout for different parts of your leg. Compression causes an increase in blood flow and a reduction in inflammation. And it's not tight. It's not tight. You should forget you're wearing it. I will get calls very often saying, "I think I have the wrong size. It feels too big." Not tight. 99% it's perfect. They just have to get used to the idea that it contours over time. It's also washable, so it doesn't smell. I had a call from a man. This is really funny, and it's on our website, actually. He called up and he said, "I'd like to order an elbow brace." Okay, fine. And there's the whole thing, how to measure. And I said to him, "What seems to be the problem with your elbow?" And he said, "Well, I fish a lot, and casting out, I've kind of like really hurt my." I said, "You have to be kidding me. You're getting an elbow brace from fishing?" He said, "Yeah." And so I'm only going to send it to you if you promise to send me a picture. Well, he did. There is a picture on our website of him casting out, wearing the elbow brace, and the next picture is him holding a fish. Is the funniest thing. I could tell you a million stories, but it's basically about being educated that compression is a process. I see, and Amazon's a scary place because people write whatever they want. And it's not real. We just saw actually something that looked like one of our, and we ordered it. And it was such garbage. I'm sure nobody's keeping it. It does nothing. It's flimsy. It's no compression, but it's all written. And the outside, it looks like the real thing. So you have to do your homework. Oh, this was an interesting story. I had a guy call from, not Alaska, Australia, had the accent. And he said he needed for his ankles, Achilles. And I will say, not to be plugging something, but if you have an Achilles ankle problem, there's nothing like this. You put it on, you have no pain. And I said, "Okay." He said, "Yeah, I ride in a tournament, and I need it." I said, "Okay, fine." Months later, I get a call from an American guy, and he said, I need your Achilles ankle brace." I said, "Okay." And we're talking a little bit. I mean, most people just order online, but if they get me, they're going to have a conversation. He said, "Yeah, I do the bike marathon from Banff, Canada, down to Mexico. It's a bike run."
Oh, wow.
Okay. And he said, "A lot of the guys are wearing your Achilles." I said, "Wait a minute, do you have a problem?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, you're not supposed to wear it really unless you have a problem." He said, "It prevents it for us." He said, "I saw a guy riding in the last run, and I saw he had 2 Achilles braces on, and I asked him where he got it, and he said, your company. That's why I'm calling." I said, "Okay, fine." He goes, and he had this great accent from Australia. I said, "How would I know who you bought it from?" But it was the guy from Australia. It was in the run here in the United States. And apparently this group of bikers now uses the product. You know, that's
Oh,
what
wow.
happens. That's how we grow. I have a cousin who plays pickleball. He's in his 60s. He's almost 70. His wrist is bad. We make a wrist brace. It's a brace. I kept saying, "Let me give you one." "No, it's not going to help. I need surgery. It's not going to help." "Measure your wrist. Let me know what size you need. I'm going to give it to you." "No, it's not going to help. I need to go for surgery." Well, we met them for dinner a month ago, and I brought 2 with me, the 2 sizes I thought he might be. Guess who wears a playing pickleball now and has no pain? So That's it. We're there to really, my goal was I feel Americans should have access to good products. Um, there's a lot of things getting in the way. When we started, our knee brace was covered with Medicare. Our knee brace has stays on the side, and the silicone, we hand pour silicone for around the kneecap, okay? And that is heat sealed in with a terry cloth. And even at the back of the knee, if you can imagine, there's a different window of sewing. So when you bend or you crunch down, no pain. It doesn't bunch. It doesn't move.
Okay.
It doesn't sweat. So this was all the doctors were getting that from us. They were calling to order it because they can get reimbursement. All of a sudden, and we sell it for $70. So if I'm selling it wholesale, whatever, and then they're gonna get Medicare for it. Right after we started, they decided to change the qualifications, and you had to have a hinge in it to get reimbursed, no longer. So, of course, that business then dropped again. But what happened, which is really, I don't know if I should be saying this, but what happened was the doctors now ordered our much, much more expensive brace because that they could get reimbursed 4 times the amount, and patients were getting much more than they needed. They didn't need to have all that stuff. They would have done fine with the regular. So again, they're not really getting the perfect because bureaucracy. But when you buy direct from me, I mean, I can't tell you how many people have called and they're ordering the one with the hinge, and I'll talk to them and say, you don't need it. Sometimes you do, but it's double the money. You don't need it. This is going to do it for you.
That's a great story. And I also like, too, the story that you had about how your product has really started to pick up in the pickleball tournaments and how that all started, because it was very similar, I think, to what you were talking about with the bicycle race, right? The ultra bicycle race was, you had somebody, well, you tell the story.
This is a very interesting story. I was going on vacation. I was on VRBO to rent a house. And so I had found this place, and somehow I was able, after a while, to directly email with the owner. Because usually you can't, you're caught in their thing. And we're writing back and forth about this house. And then he signed one of his emails with his letterhead. He was a veterinarian in U of P. And I'm writing with my letterhead. So I wrote him, I said, hey, I have a dog. I have a question. Let me talk to you about my dog for a second. He wrote back, listen, I have a bad ankle and I see you're doing compression. Can I talk to you about that? Long story short, he told me that he had 2 surgeries on his ankle. He had a lot of scar tissue. He had pain. He'd given up. He gave up running, gave up everything. It had been quite a long time. And there was a lot of scar tissue in there and just a lot of pain. So I said, you know what? Measure your ankle. I want to send you. He goes, no, I don't want it. I said, I'm not charging you. I'm asking you for your measurement. People fight with me when I would give them stuff. So I sent it to him. Calls me up. He goes, I'm not sure, but I just got off the elliptical, and I'm not getting the shocks, but I'm not sure yet. He called a little bit later. He was so much better, and he signed up for a marathon in 6 months. The Achilles is a phenomenal product because you've got the same, I don't have a picture here for you of the products, but the Achilles ankle is the regular ankle sleeve brace, but we put silicone like a butterfly on the back so that it encompasses the tendon and is applying pressure on the Achilles tendon, relieving the pain.
Okay.
And it works beautifully. I mean, once in a blue moon, sometimes somebody will have a different kind of Achilles problem where it's not going to work. That's very rare.
Yeah.
So I always feel good when I get these stories that people are back doing sports. Our tagline is relief in motion. Don't let pain keep you out of the game, because we really can make a difference. And it's just, we're not a big company. I can't do a huge promotion, but we do have a product out there that truly helps people. And seniors in particular, as we age, I have arthritis in my right knee. Well, the brace is very, very good for arthritis because it's increasing the blood flow around the kneecap and it's reducing inflammation. So that's it. That's us. And the more we get out there and get these stories, it's good.
And we'll be sure to put a link to the website in the show notes, and that's brdsport.com, right? And what we'll do, in that way, people can go over there, they can check out the braces and see all the product information. The one thing that really seemed to be different, and you've talked about it a little bit, is doing the measurements instead of just trying to guess like small, medium, large, extra large.
No, you can't at all. It's 6 sizes, and on the website we have videos for each product that shows you exactly how to measure. Then that measurement fits into a chart, a sizing chart. So that's one thing. And the other thing is they can always call me to clarify if they need a little bit of assistance. A quarter of an inch, half an inch makes a difference. This stuff fits. There are many times where we'll customize. They'll call me and say, Nina, it's just too tight on the thigh, but the knee is perfect. I send it back, and we will put on a larger thigh to the lower, and make it work. A lot of times we can. Sometimes we can't, but we're very customer oriented, I think, because we're really in it. I'm telling you, when that guy said to me, Americans will never see the light of day of this, it did something to me. And I said, no, that's not happening. Yeah, that's how we look at it. I was at the New York Marathon once. This is another story. Hundreds of thousands of people come to the New York Marathon. We had a booth. We had a little dressing room. Had a lot of young people helping. And a little old lady was walking around with her winter coat, and she's limping along. And she comes in, and she points, and she's wearing Tommy Cabbage, because I just bought this. Okay. Because my knee's killing me. I said, look, you could try on my knee brace if you'd like. We helped her, in the dressing room. We because she was a little old, she really wasn't so stable and everything. And we put that on her, and she said, this feels good. I said, okay. She bought it. And we helped her, and she left. An hour later, this little lady's walking around the what's it called, where all the booths are, and she's walking past me, and she goes like this.
Giving you the thumbs up, huh?
Yeah, I'll tell you one more. It's a plantar fasciitis, which if your viewers hear this, nobody realizes there's a brace, a real brace for plantar fasciitis. We were at some country club doing the show, and it was raining, and it wasn't a good day. And an older gentleman, this is a very wealthy country club setting, and this older gentleman walks in, and he comes over, and he says to me, you don't have anything for plantar fasciitis, do you? It was not pleasant. I said, yeah, I do. We measured him. We put it on him. He goes, what is this? I don't understand. I said, what don't you understand? He goes, I don't have any pain. You put this on me and the pain is gone. I said, well, it works. He said, all right, I'm going to take one. Left it on and he left. Maybe 2 hours later, I see him at the door coming in. He's staring at me and I went, oh God, something's wrong. Something's not working. He walked across the room. He comes up to me and he goes, this is the first time I haven't had pain in years. I want another one to keep with me.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Now,
so we have a lot of products and they work.
Yeah. Have you had, and the reason I'm bringing this up is down here in Georgia, all the northbound Appalachian Trail people are heading off. And there tends to be 2 age groups. There's the just out of high school, college age groups that are heading off and, all their joints are working, everything's fine. And then you've got the folks that are retired that have some aches and pains. And I didn't know if you have any stories about grandparent age people that use this for hiking, for some of those outdoor activities.
I have. There's a couple that go hiking in Europe, and they're seniors. And before they go every year, they call me to buy a couple of ankle braces for the hikes. That's what they need. And they depend on. In pickleball, there's a gold medal winner called Paul Olin, He's fabulous, and he's a senior, and he's a professional pickleball player, and he wears our elbow, he wears our wrist, and our ankles, regular ankles. Sometimes he'll put on a knee, but as he put it, I don't want to look broken if there. I'm competing.
Right.
Let me think. I mean, I have a lot of seniors. The guy with the Achilles ankle, the veterinarian, he was in his 60s. I had a gentleman call me. He was, I don't know, 70s, and he said to me, "I bought your brace." It was like 8 years ago. And he said, "I can't see the size. I need to order another one. This is finally wearing out." I said, "You've had it 8 years?" He said, "Yes." I said, "That's not good for me. That it lasts that long." Oh, this is a good one. An old guy pulled up. Instead of going to the factory, he came to my house. He was in an 18-wheeler.
Okay.
I said, "You have to go to the factory." He was nasty. He was angry. I said, "You can't unload it here. I don't have a dock. I don't have anything. What do you think you're going to do?" He was not nice. He went to walk back. It was summertime. He had shorts. And he was walking back to his truck. And when he went to step up, I saw he's wearing my knee brace. I go, "Hey, wait a second. My knee brace." I said, "That's you? What do you need? Anything you want. This thing changed my life. I wear it constantly for deliveries." And
wow.
this is my last story. There was
Okay.
a pro, I'm not naming his name, in pickleball. He top pro, and young in the 20s, but they have injuries too.
Mm-hmm.
They get injured in high school, and he was wearing someone else's knee. And I called him and I said, "I'd like to send you a sample of our knee." And he called me after I got his measurement. He called me back and he said, "I'm in. I put your knee brace on, relieve the pain right away. I've never had this. It doesn't slip and it doesn't move, and I can wash it." Okay. He signed a contract for 1 year to always wear the product. After about 6 months, I see he's not wearing it. I called him up. I said, "Hey, you're supposed to be wearing it." He said, "But it healed the problem. Your brace healed the problem." "But you're supposed to," because I'm not wearing it anymore. It makes me look vulnerable. You've healed the problem. So I said, "Now what am I going to do? I'm obviously not going to really make trouble. I'm not going to."
Yeah.
So what I did was I started to run before and after pictures of him, and to use his name and his likeness and publicize. Right. But I really haven't had any bad experiences. Occasionally where it just didn't help for whatever the reason was, and then we take it back. It didn't work.
Yeah, I mean, there might be some real structural issues, or there may be, I mean, that's common sense.
Compression, and people have to educate themselves on compression. They expect it to be tight, like a cut and sew product that you put on. All that is rubber that's going to make you sweat. Last story. We were trying to get into high-end shoe stores, sneaker stores. Again, there's companies, very big companies, that don't want us in because they have similar products, but not as good. But they're branded. And so we were in this really upscale sneaker store. I went to educate the workers how to measure, how to size people, everything. And there was a young guy, he worked there. And I said, "Look, put my knee brace on and go out and run around the block." He did. Now put on, I won't say who. It's a very well-known brand. Not a lot less money than mine. And he ran, he goes, "All right, it's not as comfortable." I said, "Take it off now." He starts to take it off. He's going, "Ow, ow." The neoprene was pulling the hair out of his legs. Because they have to put like a glue to hold it up. Because they don't have compression.
That's great information. And the thing is, I love hearing about the manufacturing being here in the States, because there's a few people that are starting to manufacture jeans and some apparel that's coming back.
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, there's a cost to it. It's not dramatically different, but it's starting to educate people that's saying, "Hey, we're going to compete on quality. We're going to compete on these attributes of the product that are made stateside. This is just part of what it is. Do you want this thing that's going to last you 5 years like the one person did? Or do you want the thing that's going to last you 5 weeks and you're going to be so sick of it, you're probably not even wearing it that whole time?"
It's funny, like when I first had my first grandchildren, I was a lot younger. If she's 16 now, I could get down on the floor. I could change a diaper. I could run around. Today, if I get down on the floor, I'm not getting up so fast. Okay? So it's changed. But for seniors who have problems with their wrist, with their knee, with an ankle, plantar, Achilles, this stuff really helps them to keep participating and be active. And I just want to get the message out because it's available to change people's lives. It's all about letting people know. And a show like yours with so many seniors is great because that's exactly the target audience for me to make a difference and help them.
Oh, I love that. And that's why, I thought this was such a great idea for having us come together, because so many of the seniors and so many people that are, as we're aging, you might have an injury or something, sprains and strains and all of that stuff that you used to bounce back. Like by the end of the week, you're ready to party again. As we're getting a little bit older, it's taking a little bit longer to bounce back. And we do need that support to be able to stay mobile, because if we're not mobile, just all sorts of other problems start happening.
I get phone calls. I want to respond to something. I'll always say, how did you find us? And more I'm hearing, I Googled things made in the USA. Braces made in the USA, socks made in the USA. People are looking for that. Many people are looking. I hear that a lot, and I'm very happy to hear that, because I think we're crazy to outsource everything. We need to make things here for many reasons.
Right. Absolutely.
So,
well, Nina, I've had you on for a little while. Is there anything about BRD Sport I didn't ask you, or anything about the brace that popped into your mind that we need to go over?
I think we covered a lot. I'm connected now to the baby boomers, the senior magazine, all sorts of places like that to try to get people educated and informed that there's options for them. And from beginning to end, if you go, this is a funny story. If you go on the website, we have these socks. They're socks. They're made from the plastic bottles, the plastic cans. We're not the only ones. What happens is there's a process to break it down into yarns and knit it. So it's kind of good for the environment. It happens to be a really comfortable sock. It's all that stuff. So my grandkids, I said, hey guys, I need a video. If you go to my website, there's the funniest video of the can squishing down, becoming yarn, all the things that come in, and at the end, the kid's feet going like this wearing the sock. That's my grandchildren. They did it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I can't think of anything. We covered a lot.
Well, good. And folks, be sure to check out the show notes. And if you're out driving or walking or whatever, and you can't make a quick note, we'll have a link to BRD Sport there, and you can go check the video. You can see the sizing. You can see some of the product demonstration and videos and everything right there. So, Nina, it's been great having you on, and I've really appreciated this chat.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it. It was great meeting you.
I enjoyed that conversation with Nina. One of the biggest things that I really liked was how she and her husband are keeping manufacturing here in the States, how they've been able to pivot after NAFTA and really start to focus in on building quality compression braces, how that enables seniors and just active people in general to stay in the game and keep moving forward. I love the fact that she is competing on quality and not price. And what an interesting story it was to hear about her experience with going to a big retailer and hearing how they talked to her about how they would prefer to go to China to get some of the materials made because it costs less, but the U.S. consumer would still just buy it, even though it was inferior to what was being provided by Nina and her husband. It's really interesting conversations. So I hope that if you've got some aches and pains, bumps and bruises or whatnot, that you take a look at BRD Sport, see if they have a device that would work for you. And if so, go ahead and make that order. I'm sure you would appreciate it, and I'm sure it will help keep you in the game. So, until next time, remember to stay cool. Thank you for listening to the Cool Grandpa Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please do me a favor and share it with a friend. That's the best way you can help us to expand our community, as well as get the news out about how valuable grandpas are in the lives of those kids. If you'd like to leave me a comment or shoot me a potential topic for this podcast, please go to www.cool-grandpa.us. Look for the comments tab, fill it out, hit submit. It's as easy as that. Until next time, remember to stay cool.